As you guys mentioned, it's almost more interesting what's happening with both of these clubs off the pitch right now. And there's a little more to that with Ralf Rangnick, the guy you see behind me right now. Some news that came out about an hour ago. Now, the plan from the beginning was for him to be with the club for a couple of years, a consultancy role, moving into the consultancy role next year. There was a report from the Daily Mail just a couple hours ago that he is weighing an offer now to take over as the Austrian national team manager, could walk away from Manchester United. There have been other reports since then that have said that he might try to do both still. Our own David Ornstein, who is our Premier League insider, says that he will, in fact, try to do both, lead the national team for Austria, and then also continue as a consultant for Manchester United. Sky Sports is saying that this could become official as far as the Austrian team manager role in the next 24 to 48 hours. So split duties, perhaps, for a guy who is in charge of remaking this Manchester United team. What do you think of that?
It's incredible news, Ahmed, and kind of sums up the state of where Manchester United are. Is this job at Manchester United at a crucial time in the club's history not big enough for a man to say he can do it part-time? We are in a position where what we're seeing on the football pitch is only a manifestation of what's happening in the football club. No process, no structure, no network and ability to scout players and have all those things in place. There's no surprise why Liverpool and Manchester City. Look what's behind them. Look what Pep and Jurgen Klopp can rely on. Now, this guy, Ralf Rangnick, came in. He's honest, he's fresh, he's got processes, and he's been successful in Europe. He was or is a key personnel for Manchester United Football Club. For them to allow him to go and spend some time with the Austrian FA, and well done to the Austrian FA for getting him, for them to allow him time to do that, as though this job saving Manchester United isn't big enough, I think is an absolute joke. David Ornstein also noted in furthering this story that Manchester United, his words, quote, are relaxed about the situation or the recent news here. What do you make of that?
You do one or the other. For Rangnick's perspective, you take the national team job at Austria, you walk away from Manchester United, or you take you carry on with his consulting role at Manchester United, and that's what you do. I'm looking at Manchester United at the moment, and from top to bottom, it's becoming more of a pastime and a hobby. Manchester United becoming a pastime and a hobby, where people think they can just dip in and then dip out. You know, and it's...
But how's he allowed to, Dan? That's the
problem.
How has somebody said it's OK for you to be part-time with Manchester United and have the Austrian job? I cannot believe that could happen.
But it's also, Robbie, I think if you look at the club over the years when they've brought in new managers, the furniture's remained the same. There's been no freshening up. So it's just like people are saying, oh, yeah, well, it's OK. Now you're part of this club. We want you to remain with this club. If you're Manchester United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, you know, the fans, they fill out the stadium every single game. You should be saying to someone like Rangnick, if you want to go, we give you our best wishes, you go. But you can't do both. That is absolutely impossible, especially as you just touched on. You know, it's such an important key area of the history at the moment.
Yeah, and clearly there have been fans that have voiced their displeasure over the past year, and most recently for Manchester United's last home game, a group of supporters protested the first 17 minutes of their match against Norwich. And so clearly there's been pressure put on by the fan base. They've expressed their displeasure with the ownership. And you wonder if it's being heard. Robbie.
Quite rightly, because things like this Rangnick thing starts to ask me questions like, who's running the show here? Who's in charge of this football club? Who's making decisions? Who's going to start getting this football club back to where it needs to be? And it's a long-term job if you get the right people, good people like Rangnick, who's got great reputation across European football. And it would look again as though the fans are suggesting they're not going to accept this for this great football club.
And the problem that you have as well is that whenever anybody talks about Manchester United at the moment or in recent years, it's about their turnover. It's about how much money they've brought into the club. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, Manchester United is now becoming more of a Manchester United business club than a football club. And that's a frustration that you do see from supporters, especially when you look at clubs like Liverpool, like Manchester City, that only a few years ago were quite a way behind Manchester United. But what they did, they brought in a manager and they said to the manager, you are the manager of this football club. You've had success at other clubs that you've been at. How did you get that success? What do we need to do at this club to bring the success to this club? With Manchester United, when managers have gone in previously, And, you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer. The managers have been told, yes, you're going to manage this football club, but you're going to manage it the way that we want you to manage it. They're stuck in the past and they need to get with the times. Also, otherwise, they're just going to slip further and further back.
So what you're seeing right now, these are live pictures coming to you outside of Old Trafford. It appears that the fans are once again voicing their displeasure. In the past, it has been aimed at the Glazer family, who has owned that club for 17 years, took over in 2005. They have 0 major trophies in the last 5 seasons. And for a lot of the clubs at the top of the Premier League, that is unacceptable. But certainly those fans feel like they are a long way from where they need to be here. How far are they away from being what we've come to expect from them?
In some respects, Ahmed, and it's almost a question that doesn't need answering. What needs to happen for the first instance is get the right things, get the right people, get the right structures in place. That might take you 2 years. We might be talking 2 years before we're in a state where we've stopped the runaway train, we've turned it around, and now we're going in the right direction. And then 2 or 3 years after, we might be a club that's starting to compete again. But anyone who thinks this is a 6 to 12-month job and Manchester United about challenging for titles couldn't be further from the truth. And I would think a number of those fans, the reason why they're starting these protests is because they're not happy with what they see, and they see how long and how far this football club has dropped.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches and much more.